Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another report on the state of co-prosperity sphere, this one for 1967. And we have finally had something that I can consider a good year for Japan. We've had a growth of 4.11%, meaning that in comparison to the start of the game, we've actually finally had some growth. It is a meager growth of 2.56%, but it is a growth nonetheless. And that makes me so happy. So after 2 bad years and 1 of sort of a stagnation, Japan is finally back to positive trajectory. It hasn't been a good year for China though. Due to the war and loss of territory, it has lost almost 8% of its GDP, which unfortunately is to be expected. I was kind of surprised though that Manchuria has retained its growth and actually accelerated it from 2.5% to nearly 4%, ending at 3.97%. State of Guangdong is also just exceeding all expectations and is currently at 12.8% higher in GDP than it was a year ago, meaning it is, together with Republic of China, now more than 40% higher than at the start of the game. Unbelievable result, very good. Asadhin government continues with its steady growth at 3.45%, meaning it has added nearly 20% since the start of the game. Republic of Indonesia is at 92.9% growth, but it is because it ended the civil war and is now sitting at 6.25 billion in GDP, which is actually only 6.84% higher than at the start of the game. Yeah, it is actually. I was wondering, but yeah, that's 0.4 billion actually. Republic of Thailand added 3.6%, pretty good. Philippine Shotorinji Seifu added almost 2% at 1.97%, so they're probably gonna add this much growth every year. We're gonna see. Empire of Vietnam 1.61% higher, and Burma 2.41%. I kind of find it interesting that Burma is consistently growing faster than Vietnam, meaning that they are currently at 12.71% higher than at the start of the game, while Vietnam is at only 6.30%. Interesting. No, either way. This is where the bad news starts though. Yunnan, Guangxi, and Jinshan administrative office are all gone, being eliminated due to the rebellion. We have also lost the Guizhou province, the Nampo Guisekan, and Shinan administrative office. Now some of these have actually already been lost before, like Yunnan and Guizhou, and being incorporated in other states, but you can see that the co-prosperity sphere is actually shrinking. We now have only 14 members? So 1, 2, 3, I can actually count it like this. It's 10, 11, and then 5, so that's 16, 17 members. 17 members out of 23 that we started with. Not great, but maybe we can put in, New Granada or Cameroon if we manage to end those wars on a positive light. Now, overall, as I mentioned, it is good news, especially because the sphere GDP as a whole increased as well. So even with these losses, we know that we keep growing, and it is mostly because of us. I mean, it's only 4% in the percentage, but it's over 10 billion in GDP. So every little percentage that we get is much more important than any other. Actually, the growth that we had is more than these guys all combined. I think maybe even with these guys. Yeah, it's roughly as much as the growth of Vietnam, Burma, Mengyang, Sehel, Malaya, Cambodia, Laos, Nampal, Guisakan, and Bhutan all together. Well, ribbon makes you think, right? As far as the world goes, the top 10 world economies had another shuffle. USA is still on the first place. They actually grew by nearly 5%, which is a bit disconcerting for us. We have, grew by 4.11%, being the second, and Germany grew by 4.75%, being the third. Italy grew by 2.36%, being the fourth, which is understandable. United Kingdom is still fifth, with a growth of 1.65%. They are really doing all that well since the very start of the game. You can see that they have probably the least impressive growth of all of the countries in the top 10. China losing 8%, we already know about that. Manchuria getting 3.97% here, being on position number 8. But position number 7 actually is now Brazil's. So it goes United States, Japan, Germany, Italy, then United Kingdom, then China, then Brazil, then Manchuria, and position number 9 belongs to Iberia, and 10 belongs to France. France has returned back to the top 10 world economies after dropping at the very beginning of the game where they were 8th, and then now they returned at position number 10. Interestingly, they still have a lower GDP than they had at the beginning of the game. They have been, if you remember, attacked by Burgundy, so they lost quite a big chunk of that territory, but it seems like they are recovering and now are at position number 10 in the top 10. So pretty interesting. As far as global statistics go, I've already mentioned that the sphere GDP grew by 10.11 billion American dollars, while the total world GDP increased by 66.63 billion American dollars, meaning that the sphere's share dropped by 0.3% to 24%, and total sphere trade unfortunately also decreased by 31.5 billion American dollars, down to 145 billion, meaning we lost almost 18% in the sphere trade year to year. Kind of weird. These numbers are all over the place. I don't know what's affecting them, but the fact is that, China is in ruin, so that might have a lot to do with it, and we lost quite a lot of other states to the rebellion. Might be that it has this kind of effect. Well, and last but not least, the additional statistics. I wanted to say something clever here, but no, it's just the additional statistics. So you can see that our total debt has actually increased by 3.2 billion, from 262.15 to 265.45 billion. However, the debt to GDP ratio has, after many years, finally dropped by 3%, from 105.8% to 102.8%, which is amazing. And I really love it would be better if the total debt actually dropped as well, but even if it keeps increasing, but compared to GDP, it will be lowering, I'm okay with it. However, I think that this year might be the turning point, even for the actual growth of debt, because, you can see here that the yearly surplus is actually only minus 1 billion compared to minus 1.84 billion the year before, so we managed to lower it almost to half of what it was. The yearly surplus is now also down to minus 0.49% of our GDP. Yeah, of our GDP, which is, extremely small. And we just need a little bit more of a push, and then we can have a surplus again. Production units unfortunately keep dropping, which I kind of don't understand. I thought they were directly tied to GDP, but even though our GDP increased significantly, we have way less production units than we had the year before. Kind of weird, but we're down to 165. I mean, it is still more than we started with. It's a little bit weird. Manpower increased to 5,080,000, which is an increase of 1,090,000. I don't know where that came from, but we have it now. Army force size actually dropped by 1%, which is, I think, the effect of the fighting in Cameroon and in New Granada, where we lost a lot of men and we don't have the reinforcements getting in as fast as we need, so our units are fighting understaffed. You can see that it's actually like 4,130 men, which means that our units are on average missing about 800 guys each. Air Force size is the same, Navy size is the same, there's really no difference. But population of Japan increased by nearly 4 million, by 3,930,000. Poverty rate has also, after many years, dropped by 0.13%, which is for the first time since we started the game. I mean, it increased quite significantly by more than 6%, but now it started dropping. So that makes me real happy. Score of US military increased by 18 points, score of US economy increased by 66 points, but overall their total score dropped by 38 points. I think that's because of the conflicts in the world and us winning those, or Germany winning those. So happy on that. Score of military dropped by 110 points. I don't know what happened there, but they were at 741, now they're at 621. 110 points. Pretty significant drop. Their economy though increased by 27 points, which is pretty good for them, and the total score increased by 465 points, which is just crazy. I don't know what's going on there, but things are definitely changing in Germany. Score of Japan military is the same. We haven't done anything due to focusing on economy, but our economy has increased by 8 points, and the score of Japan total increased by 93. Hopefully next year we're gonna jump significantly, and USA is gonna drop significantly, because we are really threatening them. If we could win a total victory in Grenada and in Cameroon, that would mean we would gain at least 400 points, and USA could lose that. But even if they lose 200 and we gain 200 and we start reforming our military and continue with the growth, we could really finally contest them for the first place for the first time. It would be really good. Approval in the House of Peers has dropped by 10% to 51%, but the public approval increased by 5%, which is great, and the government stability increased by 17% to 93%. So overall, I consider this year a really good one. We have some big issues, namely Cameroon, New Granada, and most importantly the revolt in China. But if it continues this way, I think soon we'll be able to intervene. Our army is sort of ready, and with the economy growing this fast, I will feel confident in the next couple of episodes to start reforming our army, getting a little bit more soldiers on the ground in preparation for possible operations in China. So that's something that we have to look forward to. We'll see how the actual situation is gonna develop, but for now, focus on Cameroon, focus on New Granada, but then the army, then China, and the rest will come afterwards. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, you guys take care.